My name is Nancy, and I'm 48 years old. Several years ago, I moved into my husband's parents' house to care for my mother-in-law, who has been diagnosed with dementia. Nancy, do you know where my socks are? I want to go for a walk, but I can't seem to find them. Mom, by any chance, have you been wearing two on your right foot? Oh my, indeed I have. No wonder it felt strange to walk. Living with her since she was diagnosed with dementia, her symptoms are still mild, so she just occasionally needs help with everyday tasks. Haha, but having two pairs of socks on must have kept your feet warm, right? That's not so bad. I suppose you're right. I hear that some people become quite irritable when they develop dementia, but my mother-in-law seems somewhat fluffy, like a little girl. The stress of caregiving is likely less for me compared to others. Alright, all fixed. Shall we go for a walk together? After correcting her socks, we set out for our daily walk. Even though her symptoms are mild, she can't go out alone. Switching to working from home and caring for my mother-in-law can lead to unexpected actions and demands on my time, but this slow-paced life of walking outside every day is peaceful. By the way, I haven't seen Jack around. If he's getting into trouble outside, I'll scold him, you know. At dinner, my mother-in-law spoke. Jack will be back tomorrow. His business trip was a long one this time. Oh, he was on a business trip? I thought he was out gallivanting around again. She looked slightly disappointed, and I gave a bitter smile. Were you planning on scolding him? Well, my husband Jack isn't a bad guy, but he can be a bit loose about certain things. When he gets immersed in his work or hobbies, he loses track of time, and he's also loose about money. Unless I give him his allowance in increments, he will spend it all at once. Whenever my husband caused trouble, my mother-in-law would scold him for me. My mother-in-law, who was originally in a logical field, had a way of logically cornering my husband until he was speechless, which always amused me to see. Surely, compared to the typical mother-in-law and daughter-in-law, my mother-in-law and I must have a quite good living arrangement. Still, as my mother-in-law pointed out, my husband has increasingly been absent from home lately. I cut back on my work and my income decreased, so he said he'd work harder, but for me, it's a bit complicated. That's because the decrease in income is offset by moving into my mother-in-law's house and reducing housing-related expenses, so it's more or less a wash. What I really want is for my husband to value his family more and to come home early. Especially in these last 3 months, he's been coming home late and going on business trips more frequently, which has been concerning. That's how things are as my husband returns from his business trip. As always, I was tidying up my husband Jack's laundry from his business trip when I found an unfamiliar undershirt in his bag. Hey, what's with this undershirt? Huh? Despite my lighthearted question, Jack showed a startled reaction. It was in your bag. It's not something I usually buy, so I was wondering what happened. That. I bought it myself. The one I had was old, right? It got torn, so I threw it away. Huh? I packed all new ones when you left. Did it really tear? Did it? Maybe it was just poorly made. Oh, I see. My husband's strange behavior made me suspicious. Lily, don't you think this is odd? I speak to the stray cat, Lily. Lily is a calico stray that my mother-in-law dotes on, and she has become quite affectionate towards me as well. Well, even when I talk to her, she can only reply with meow. After that, when I looked closer, there was a faint smell of perfume from the suitcase. Could he be cheating? As I stroke Lily's belly, she returns the favor with her soft paws. Are you trying to comfort me? Meow. Then let's investigate. What? Mother-in-law, you were listening? If something seems strange, you must act immediately. Don't worry, Jack is sloppy. He can't hide anything. There should be evidence left. My mother-in-law chuckles. Mother-in-law, aren't you assuming he's cheating? Well, I retorted, I started investigating my husband. Of course it was to prove Jack's innocence. But, seeing the report from the investigation, I couldn't believe my own eyes. As Jack came home late from his business trip, He lay down on the sofa, exhausted. I softly broke the silence. There's something important we need to discuss. Perhaps sensing my determination, my husband also got up and resettled himself on the sofa. Do you have something you need to tell me? What? Watching my visibly flustered husband, I sighed internally. Do you have something you need to say? What? Nancy, what's going on? Do you have something you need to say? Like my mother-in-law used to question my husband, I fixed my gaze on him. After a moment, my husband hung his head. Well, I'm sorry. The business trip was half a lie. As he said this, he remained hunched over, unable to utter a word more. Who were you meeting? Where did you go? Well, Nancy, you see. The more I pressed, the more my husband began to perspire, his eyes darting around the room nervously. So, you're not denying that you met someone and went somewhere? Well, about that. Watching my husband wince, I felt as if a weight had been placed on my chest. Do you love your child? What? Nancy, why? My husband turned pale in a flash. Do you remember when I asked you about the underwear? After that, I noticed a perfume scent from your bag and I started to investigate you. I showed my husband the investigation report with a picture of his mistress and their child, all smiles. I only had a thing with her once, years ago when we were both drunk. As soon as I found out she was married, I cut off all contact. Opening the floodgates, my husband started to spill everything out. But a few months ago, she suddenly showed up and told me she was divorced, raising the kid by herself and struggling. She wanted to talk to me. As we drank and talked, we somehow ended up back together. But I refused when she asked me to divorce you and remarry her. I refused. While making his excuses, my husband occasionally cast nervous glances my way. Then she said, the kid is mine. I denied it because we only slept together that one time years ago, but she insisted on a DNA test. And when we did it, it turned out the kid really is mine. And she divorced her ex-husband because the kid wasn't his. The child was happy to meet their real dad, and well... After rushing through his explanation, my husband stammered and faltered. What are you planning to do from now on? Huh? Oh, well... Seeing my husband flustered, I let out another sigh and sighed my heart. Do you think everything would have been fine if I hadn't found out? Answer me! You know I've been handling the bank account where your salary gets deposited, right? I wondered why the amount didn't increase much even when you came home late claiming overtime and business trips. Then there's the underwear and the perfume. Didn't you think I would get suspicious? Anyway, if this young girl is indeed your child, we need to consider our future. Let's have another talk in a week. Please think it over. However, on the weekend, 5 days later, something unbelievable happened. Nancy! Rushing over at my mother-in-law's call, I saw that she was holding divorce papers and a letter addressed to me in her hand. My husband's section of the divorce papers was already filled out, complete with his signature. And inside the envelope, there was a letter. To Nancy. After giving it a lot of thought, I've decided to leave this house. Now I need to prioritize the future of my child. I can't just leave her struggling with her life. Even though I wasn't planning on having a child, the affection grew when she became attached to me. Please grant me a divorce. I've decided to start a new life with my new family. Also to fulfill my duties as a father. I'm leaving you in my mom's care. I believe that you two get along well and I can entrust her to you with peace of mind. Take care, Jack. Shall we talk? My mother-in-law gently rubs my back as I cried out in distress. After hearing the story and reading the letter, she hugs me tightly. Even though he's my son, I can't forgive Jack. I'm not satisfied until he pays for what he's done. But what do you think, Nancy? Depending on your decision, I'm willing to lend my full support. I'm prepared to push him to the wall, so don't hesitate to tell me what you want. The sight of my mother-in-law, filled with a rage that left me breathless, was something I had never seen before. Even though she had scolded my husband several times before, her anger now was beyond comparison. Looking at her face, a change gradually came over me. Mother-in-law, I was wrong. Thinking I should prioritize the kids or try to understand Jack's feelings, I've been behaving as if I was detached from all of this. That's wrong, isn't it? I haven't expressed my feelings to Jack at all, and Jack didn't mention me even once in his letter. It's like I was just a household helper. That's unacceptable. I'll definitely get my revenge. Bubbling anger swelled within me. Then, together with my mother-in-law, we began to plan. We're going to wreck him. The next payday, while I was having dinner with my mother-in-law, we heard a disturbing noise at the front door. He's here. As my mother-in-law chuckled, the doorbell rang. Who might this be? When I responded frostily, Jack looked taken aback on the other side of the screen, yet demanded the door be opened. Oh, you're giving up already, after leaving your wife and mother behind not even 2 weeks past? My mother-in-law chimed in with a mischievous tone. This is not about giving up. Give me back my salary, Jack demanded in a panicked voice. Why? You took your bank book and seal with you, didn't you? Don't you have others? The reason for Jack's desperation was that my mother-in-law and I had his salary account changed at his company. Let's take away his salary. At first, I thought it was impossible. I thought she's really losing her memory. But my mother-in-law just laughed lightly. There's no way they can deposit the salary that's supposed to go to Jack's account into someone else's account. But if it goes into an account in Jack's name, that'll work. Huh? My mother-in-law made a call to Jack's company. Hello, boss. It's been a while. I appreciate you looking after Jack. Today, I'd like to discuss something. The boss of Jack's company is an old friend who admires my in-laws as benefactors. When my mother-in-law proposed her plan, the boss happily agreed. Your salary has been properly deposited into your account. I happen to have an account under your name. I just didn't mention it. Only because of the relationship between my mother-in-law and the boss, this strategy could work. Once the boss understood the circumstances, he agreed to deposit Jack's salary into an account under Jack's name that my mother-in-law had been holding to save money for her child. That's my money! Yes, the fruits of your labor. And since Nancy is your wife, you must provide her with some of your earnings. What? My husband's face registered shock at my mother-in-law's words. Jack, I still have the divorce papers here. They're neither signed nor submitted, so we're still married. What? Honestly, I was tempted to just get it over with and file for divorce immediately. However, as my mother-in-law strategized, I decided it was in our best interest to maintain our marital status, so I kept the divorce papers. If you really wanted to divorce, you should have ensured it was filed, not just left behind. Good job. With that, I hung up the intercom and set it to silent mode. Of course, I had also swapped the keys to the front door and ensured that the chain was securely fastened. The security of the house was foolproof, and the security cameras I had installed in various places were working fine, as I could confirm on the monitor. My husband tried for a while to find a way in, but eventually gave up and went home. You can use the money however you want. No, I think I'll refrain from that. My mother-in-law offered me my husband's checkbook, but I had no intention of using it. While I was entitled to a portion of my husband's earnings for marital expenses, I could manage my living expenses with my salary. I did accept the checkbook, but I simply tucked it away in a drawer. A few days later, my husband showed up at the house again. This time, we had summoned him. He was accompanied by his mistress and their child. The boss? And who? This is a DNA testing expert. They offer on-site service, so we requested it. My smile seemed to irritate my husband. I told you the results are out. But I neither witnessed the initial procedure, nor have I seen the written results. My firm refusal to accept any arguments made my husband reluctantly agree to take the test. You don't seem too enthusiastic. Are you afraid of what the test might reveal? That's fine, we don't mind either way. But remember what we discussed? If you agree to our condition, we'll restore your salary to its original account and fill out the divorce papers. Our condition is that this DNA test will reveal the relationship between the three of you. We ask the boss here to be a witness. Just get it over with. Examine whatever you want if it'll make you happy. My husband heaved a big sigh and encouraged the testers to proceed, but his mistress was behaving quite the opposite. "Oh, are you leaving?" She backpedaled slowly, roughly pulling her child by the hand and turning to leave without a word. "Huh?" That was Jack, dumbstruck by the flight of his affair partner. The act was proof of the partner's lies, but we did not ease up in our pursuit. In response to the dumbfounded Jack, my mother-in-law said something profound. "You know, if it were me, I'd at least get the test done, collect some immediate cash, and then make arrangements to flee while waiting for the results. Not too bright, is he?" Seeing her laugh like that, I was secretly terrified. Whether she had dementia or not, I knew I couldn't make an enemy of this woman. "But the child, it's mine," Jack stuttered. "The specimen, are you sure it was really yours?" I added, casually flashing an additional investigation report. "It seems your lover's quite popular. She spun similar tales for all the men she's been with during her pregnancy period. But it seems there's one main guy, a jobless she's known since college days. It seems like he might be the real father." "That's a lie." "Why not check it out for yourself? The address is right there in the document." After a hard glare in my direction, Jack snatched the report from my hands and rushed out the door. "Unbelievable!" My mother-in-law sighed, shrugging her shoulders as we apologized and thanked the president and the contractor for their efforts. The president declined our token of gratitude, instead leaving us a get-well gift, and the contractor agreed to take the previously discussed payment. Soon after, Jack was back, frantically ringing our doorbell. We just looked at each other and gave a resigned chuckle. "The child isn't mine, and all the money left in the bank account has been withdrawn without my knowledge." The porch light illuminated Jack, his head bowed in disappointment, like a spotlight highlighting a solo actor on a stage. Seeing this, I couldn't help but share a covert laugh with my mother-in-law. "So, what brings you here?" she managed to ask, stifling her laughter. "Huh? What do you mean, what brings me here?" Like a small child, Jack murmured, but my mother-in-law was relentless. "This is the house of the wife and mother you abandoned. You left on your own accord. You have no right to cross this threshold, do you think?" Mom? Mom, who are you talking about? I have a lovely daughter who has taken it upon herself to care for me in my old age, even with the burden of my dementia, so I can't possibly have a son who would leave his own mother in the lurch like you did." Tears welled up in Jack's eyes at her harsh words, while on the contrary, I felt a surge of happiness at being called her lovely daughter. "Please take the envelope in the mailbox. It contains enough money for your immediate expenses. Be careful not to spend it all at once, or you won't last till your next payday. From next month onwards, your salary will be deposited into your old account." Nancy, you're the only one for me. If you still have feelings for me, we can start over, right?" Jack's face lit up with hope, but I held no such feelings for him. "That envelope is my final act of consideration for you. I'll be filing for divorce soon, so we are strangers from now on. Farewell." Wait, please, I'm sorry. I swear I'll never do anything like this again. Please, just this once. Forgive." Jack's plea was cut short with a sharp "no" from my mother-in-law. Following this, we sold our house and moved out. My mother-in-law had arranged for me to be her legal guardian before her dementia set in, so we were able to sell the house. Once again, I was astounded by her foresight and couldn't help but admire her. Moreover, we moved to a residential care facility. I live in a place close by, which is reassuring. I can see her every day. I have also been able to return to work full-time. After settling down and sorting out the property matters, I filed for divorce and demanded alimony from Jack. My mother-in-law instructed the lawyer to take everything in Jack's bank account. He had no choice but to comply. It's sad that we are not relatives, but I hope we can continue to be close. And that's what I intend for us to be.